Needle-like mouths, infinite stomachs, the hungry ghosts encapsulate the fear of lack and ritual guilt. They are spirits of lives marked by greed, envy, or poorly prolonged funerals, condemned to desire without ever being satisfied. In the West, ghosts demand justice. Here, they ask for offerings, plain rice, tea, fruit, joss paper burned as currency in the afterlife. Ghost Month opens its doors. Families leave an empty seat at the tables so that no ancestor feels forgotten, and therefore hungry. In some villages, a first bowl of rice is turned toward the street, feeding those who have no body. Visually, think of tremendous lanterns in the wind, rising ash, smoking bowls on the ground. Interesting fact, some write their own name upside down on the offering envelope to mislead opportunistic obsessors. The Gui reminds us, hunger is also a moral disorder. If dry land shelters the hungry, in the dark waters dwell those who demand something worse than food, substitutions. Who faces the demands beneath the surface?
A cold touch on the ankle, the sudden weight, the downward pull. The Shui Gui is the ghost of the water that drags the living to take its place. Its pact is simple and terrifying. The dead without a proper funeral, lost in rivers, dams, and harbors, seek a replacement. Therefore, during Halloween, many avoid swimming, fishing, or crossing alone. Taboos that teach safety through fear. Fishermen light incense on the banks. Rural bridges display red ribbons, ropes, and bells, creating zones of ritual noise where the spirit merges. Curiosity. Candles left on floating planks serve as beacons to guide ancestors back to the shore. The Shui Gui is the symbolic counterpart of the Gui, where one asks for food, the other seeks presence. The virtue here is prudence and respect for the limits of nature. If the water breaks, who can illuminate this world with compassion, even if they are a ghost? Even a ghost can warn. Nie Xiaoqian embodies the idea that kindness and loyalty overcome spells, doubts, and predators. Enslaved by a demon to seduce travelers, she finds in a whole human the mirror that restores her humanity. Here, beauty is not bait, it is a lamp, a beacon for those who hesitate. From King literature to theater and film, a Chinese ghost story consolidated the aesthetic of ethereal veils, blue-green mist, and persistent sidewind. On the traditional stage, a white flower in the hair signals purity even in the afterlife. Interesting fact, some sets place blue lanterns in the background to simulate the breathing of the afterlife without exposing the entity. Nie Xiaoqian corrects the rupture of Shui Gui with gentle ethics. It is not death that defines, it is choice, and where there is virtue, there is temptation. Sometimes, those who promise to take care of the house also demand it, in nighttime whispers that ask for attention, courage, and discernment to remain human, even in the face of the impossible, to remain.
They tell the story of an old lady of the house who folds clothes by herself, rearranges silverware, and moves curtains at 3 in the morning. Guipo is ambiguous, an invisible caretaker when respected, a relentless collector when rituals and household rules are forgotten. Her story is a negotiation. She helps find lost objects, lulls a baby to sleep, but demands returns, nocturnal silence, ritual cleanliness, small coins hidden in the rafters as rent, yellow talismans on the threshold, urban memes of the ghost grandmother who organizes the mess and punishes insolence. What you didn't know is that carpenters nail ancient coins to the woodwork to pay tribute to the invisible resident and prevent mischief.
Guipo educates through discomfort. Order without affection turns into oppression. Affection without order leads to chaos. And if some spirits seduce and others bargain, there are also those who merely frighten and announce injustices with an emptiness impossible to hide, the absence of one's own head in long, empty nights.
The door creaks and the hallway breathes. Something enters, groping the air as if searching for a lost face. The body advances headless. Where there should be eyes, only emptiness, and yet it seems to see. The house's mirrors have been turned toward the entrance, returning the gaze it lacks. The bells on the door frames tremble on their own, confusing the shuffling steps. Outside, the smoke of incense crosses the crossroads and spreads, opening paths for the soul to lose its way to us. The shadow climbs the wall, faceless, and stretches until it touches the ceiling. 2 lanterns hang from its chest, flickering like borrowed eyes. A trick learned in coastal villages, they say, to guide the decapitated toward the correct exit. In the cemetery, new tombstones glow with small squares. Those who touch the candelabra discover names, dates, stories. There's always one piece missing, the last word, the closing. The body senses this and remains. Then, from the end of the alley, another footstep is heard, firm, rhythmic. It doesn't run away from what's coming. It walks toward it. Who hunts what hunts us? Who imposes order on what came from beyond?
The ugliness that saves. Zhong Kui, the scholar rejected by appearances, transformed into a demon hunter by heavenly decree. And the paradox was ignited. Failure became a function. Since then, his presence on the threshold is a pact of fortune. Whoever hangs him on the door sees curses hesitate, misfortune retreat, intruding spirits lose their courage. His bulging eyes sweeping crevices, his wild beard defying the wind, his sword raised at the angle of an oath, his robe billowing like flames. In commercial districts, he is a sentinel of cash and stock. In stuffy study rooms, students murmur his name to drive out distractions before the exam. And in the streets, in Zhong Kui's procession, heavy masks advance like mobile walls. The actor never looks at a baby. It is said that light souls scare easily. Thus, Zhong Kui organizes the chaos created by the previous blocks and promises abundance through spiritual discipline. Before the fever of prints and fashion shows, there is an archaic root that regulates birth and death and holds the art of forgetting.
At Nie Bridge, the mist opens a corridor and the line moves forward with damp steps. In the middle, an elderly woman lifts the steaming bowl. Just one sip, says Meng Po, guardian of the tea of forgetfulness. Those who reach her come heavy. Scars, broken oaths, the blade of what could not be said. Without the tea, the living would return pulling the same rope, traumas and revenge like chains on their ankles. The crossing requires ancient signs, water running under the planks, mists that erase names, paper lanterns marking the line of rebirth. The teaching is simple and stark. Attachment prevents the dead from leaving. Forgetfulness protects the living from repeating the inner war. In the homes of attentive people, small cups of fresh water rest on altars, miniatures of this cosmic pact. There are those who refuse the sip, legends tell. It returns like an insistent shadow, bound to what it loves and hates. Meng Po smiles toothlessly. Memory without measure is a curse. What if memory hurts because the future never happened? There are spirits whose cries never sounded, and therefore they weigh more heavily.
The heaviest silence is the one that has never cried. Ying Ling are child spirits associated with early loss and taboos. Instead of hunting, the path is appeasement, discreet prayers, left behind toys, vows of care for the living. During the Zhuang Hungry Ghost Festival, floating lanterns and food at crossroads remind us that the community is a common table between worlds. In contemporary practice, families transform mourning into charity, choose symbolic names, plant trees. The ethic is to care and feed. Interesting fact, some cities avoid very loud fireworks during this period to spare the child spirits from fright. We begin with hunger and end with care, the offering that nourishes the living and the dead. The human, ruler without wings, keeps the pact, to remember without clinging, to offer without emptying. And so, when the last lantern goes out, the cycle returns the first bowl of rice to the door.